Hello, one of the things you've probably heard about electric cars is their ability to allow you to do one pedal driving. So you mainly drive off the accelerator pedal and you don't use the brakes very much, or you don't use the mechanical friction brakes very much. This is one of these things that is a good virtue of electric cars, and you know it when you're experiencing it, but it's rather difficult to film and to actually convey what's happening with one pedal driving. So in this video we're going to have a go. We're going to try and show the fun of one pedal driving in this particular IONIQ Electric EV. Electric cars, different from petrol and diesel cars, do actually allow you to recapture energy when you let your foot off the accelerator pedal. In a petrol or diesel car, you'd normally just have a kind of engine braking, giving some braking effect. In an electric car, you get this electromagnetic recuperation from the motor still spinning, and then it can be turned back into electrical energy and sort of recharge the battery. But in terms of driving dynamics, what that gives you is the feeling of quite controllable, quite heavy engine braking. Now it varies from car to car, from electric car to electric car, how much regenerative braking is available. This IONIQ Electric can do pretty much the same in reverse as it can forward, so about 88 kilowatts forward and minus 88 kilowatts backwards, and it's controllable by the Regen paddles on the wheel, which give you kind of 0, 1, 2, 3 levels of regen. Now, another thing that differs from electric car to electric car is whether the regenerative braking is all available on the travel, the motion of the accelerator pedal, or whether some of it is still there when you press the brake pedal. So basically whether the brake pedal is just mechanical brakes alone, or whether the brakes is blended with some regen function. So in the IONIQ, as far as I've seen, some of the regen that's available to you is blended onto the brake pedal. So you can't do it all on one pedal on the accelerator pedal. And also, as I've said in previous videos, you can't come to a full stop. The regen fades out at about 7 miles an hour. So what we'll do in this video is two things, two sets of footage. We're going to show just some normal kind of driving around to see how the regen braking and the one pedal driving works in kind of normal driving conditions, and then I'm going to go on a kind of fast scenic road and show how it makes that a lot of fun, really, actually, because you barely have to touch any other pedal and you can just kind of modulate your driving fun and the kind of response and dynamics of the car just on your right foot on the accelerator pedal. Now I've tried two different setups here for actually filming my feet while filming the driving footage, because I've noticed that people do talk about this a lot in videos about one pedal driving, but they don't show it because it turns out it's quite difficult to show. So I've got a lume cube set up on a GoPro mount stuck to part of the dashboard here, well away from anywhere it could obstruct any controls, and I've got a kind of arm mount then to hold a GoPro, again away from any of my kind of control motions, down by my foot, and then I've got a point of view camera that's showing my kind of vision out of the car. So as I say, we'll try and show that in that video, and I'll give a little bit of narration over the footage as to what's going on, and I'll put side by side a camera I've set up on my foot and my driving footage from a kind of point of view camera. Okay, so the first thing to note here is that the better footage is coming later. This is from my first setup, which wasn't very good, so my foot's a bit low resolution and a bit dim here. The second setup, the camera's much closer to my foot and the light's above it, whereas here I've got the light close but not the camera. So here, just to notice that I'm driving through a number of different speed zones. There was a 40 mile an hour, then a 60 mile an hour, and we just passed a 40 mile an hour there. Just notice how little my right foot actually moves and touches the brake pedal. So here there's some undulations in the road. We're going downhill here, and I'm managing to modulate my speed, including when someone reverses out into the main road, just on my right foot, just lifting it up. I've sped the footage up 4 times here because my right foot movements are so subtle you can barely see them. So sped up you can see it a bit more, such as when the bus here takes, I have to kind of avoid the oncoming traffic. I just lift a little bit and it gives a kind of mild braking effect. I've got the regen set to the maximum here, level 3, which you can see in the center of the speedo. The instrument cluster is the 3 blue triangles pointing left, and I'm pretty much being able to modulate all of my tasks here. Again, we're going downhill, driving along on the one foot. And then we go here now more through a sort of town centre, and again I'm sort of just keeping alert here, but signaling around a roundabout and so on. Again, all on the right foot. There's virtually no use of the brake pedal at all. This is continuing to a route to take my 2 children to their favourite chippy, and yeah, so you saw I pressed the brake pedal there just a little bit at the roundabout, and someone pulled out and took my right of way, but there you go, driving in Britain, round the roundabout still and going up onto a motorway now, and I haven't touched the brake pedal at all, even though I've been modulating my speed and different conditions. Now we're going onto the kind of the motorway, the highway, up to 70 miles an hour, and then I cut here in a moment just to slowing down again off this motorway, and you'll see that it's just my right foot doing all of this. You can see the regen bars in the bottom of the instrument cluster, and I'm going across the, still a sped up footage here, going across the roundabout and then into their favourite fish and chip place. And yeah, the only time you'll see me pressing the brake here is when I'm maneuvering to park. And you'll hear the parking blips as well of the car in a moment as we're coming to a stop. And again, my foot is on the brake there as I'm sort of putting the car in park and putting the electronic parking brake on. Now we move to the much more interesting and better shot footage, which you can always tell you're going to go on an interesting road in the UK when you have one of these average speed camera systems. So clearly this is a road people do like to go fast on. The one I'm coming up to now, just going through this small town first. Yeah, it's some nice driving roads ahead. But again, the thing to note here, and I've got the better footage now of my right foot, that the camera is closer and there's still light on it to get the resolution there. And again, I'm sort of going up here. I've got a kind of, I haven't got right away for a few places, and then, you know, this oncoming traffic. Again, most of that I'm doing with my right foot, except for just sort of stopping the car and putting it on hold for a minute there. Just giving a wave thanks for someone who's letting me through. And yeah, so I'm coming into a moment into this kind of fast zone. You'll see another one of these yellow average speed markers in just a moment, just after I pass this cyclist. And again, just note, it's all on the right foot here. Any kind of changes of speed that are quite minor. And now we're going to see as I kind of, you know, follow up to the kind of legal limit here of 60 and go around these bends, you'll practically never see my right foot touch the brake pedal at all. So I'm kind of speeding up here to close to the speed limit. And yeah, all of the kind of like slowing down for bends, because I'm not really certain of these roads, is all done on the right foot, all on the accelerator pedal. And as I continue through here, letting off for corners and so on, it's all again still on the right pedal. So I'm just sort of controlling my speed at the level I'm comfortable at. As I've said, you know, I'm not a sporty driver, and the IONIQ is not a particularly sporting car, but even through kind of quite difficult ones here, see, no pressing of the brake pedal. It's all just a kind of, you know, my hands haven't left the wheel because of course it's a fully automatic battery electric vehicle, the IONIQ, and my, you know, my foot hasn't left the right hand pedal as yet. So this is a fully kind of one pedal driving experience up to this point. And now I'm going to go into a moment another one of these average speed cameras here. They've got them interestingly set up into zones, so clearly they've got to check people's speed on these fairly kind of isolated roads at regular intervals. Now I'm going to come down in a minute into a kind of town and a junction, and then you will see that, you know, I can let up a long way with a level 3 regen, but I do actually have to use the brake pedal in a moment to, you know, bring the car to a full stop and, you know, let sort of follow in behind traffic at the junction, because you get to about 7 miles an hour and then the car just, you know, it won't regen any further, and you have to kind of like just press the brake pedal there to come to a stop. Now, as I've said, because it is a blended system where there is some regen on the brake pedals, I could really be using, if this was a kind of, you know, all regen driving demonstration, I could safely use the brake pedal and watch for the regen levels in the instrument cluster, the little blue blocks that are coming in, and still just be driving on regen and not be actually using the friction mechanical brakes, because a lot of it is just, you know, the blending means you haven't actually engaged the friction brakes until you've pressed the travel of the brake pedal down quite far. So we will see me use it to bring the car to a stop in a moment, but for now I'm still kind of enjoying, although, you know, these people are not going as fast as they're allowed to on this road, so yeah. Oh, and there's a big massive photovoltaic solar farm, which I hadn't seen before. My daughter spotted that, so I kind of safely looked across there with the camera and tried to keep looking ahead of the road. So yeah, so now we're coming into this kind of 30 mile an hour zone, more of a kind of town setting, and you'll see that I kind of, you know, I'm lifting off all the way down here to keep regen, to keep my speed under the speed limit of 30 miles an hour, off, and then this is sped up. Bear in mind, I didn't race up behind that person. This is sped up 4 times. Yeah, then I'm having to use the brake here because at, you know, the lowest of speeds, there isn't the regen to bring the car to a complete stop, so you can't have the kind of that last little bit of the what would be a full one pedal driving experience is not there in the IONIQ. So now I'm sort of going on again to try and leave some of those kind of slower cars behind that were there, and back into another kind of faster zone. This one's a 50 mile an hour zone, I think, unless I've got it wrong here. Yeah, so sort of enjoying it again. And again, this is all downhill here, but I'm not touching the brakes, so I can kind of enjoy going through these twists and turns on this lovely rare sort of sunny day in our area on these kind of English roads, these countryside roads, and I'm not having to sort of, you know, be the kind of brake pedal and so on, and yeah, just enjoying the drive really. So a few more sort of tight turns and things here just to show that, again, no use of the brake pedal at all. I'm doing this all one pedal, and then we have the problem that we run into a sort of convoy of cars going well below the speed limit. The speed limit's gone back up to 60, I think, here, if I remember rightly. And yet we just don't get very far because they're all going fairly slow. But you can see all these twists and turns up and down, and it's all just on the right foot, on the one pedal driving, until, yeah, so here you can see this, yeah, this was a 50 limit actually, and the cars are doing about sort of 35-ish. So at this point we kind of decided to call it a day and maybe I'll go out to these roads and film, you know, some other footage of some kind. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed us trying to show there in video the fun of one-pedal driving in an electric car like our IONIQ Electric EV, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me, and bye for now.